It's gonna be LARP. It's like LARP is the name because it's so bad. That's just it. It's always the bad name that sticks.
Mm. Well, yeah. God forbid you leave it up to people to kind of decide what the name is.
Oh, never ask chat or like your fans or anybody outside of like your trusted group of like co-creators for anything because they just always drop the ball. Like all the Skyrim video recommendations.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, chat's always wrong, and people got really indignant about that, but it's true. They're really dumb because
Good
it's a collective
intentions, but
intelligence.
yeah.
So it's like
In their defense, in that one, I think that it was there was slim pickings for quality Skyrim videos. It seems.
Who would have thought though?
yeah, who would think? I think I was writing about it, and I said it's deceptive how difficult it is to talk about Skyrim. So it's like you go, oh, it's a popular game, babies can play it, and it's so simple, it's dumbed down, it's got to be easy to talk about, but it's actually like this. It's a nightmare. Just looking into
Is
anything.
Skyrim as shallow as I remember it?
Oh God, no! It is like absurdly difficult to describe. Like, okay,
It
leveling in Skyrim, you get skill XP from doing stuff. When you level up your skills, you get character XP. But the character XP goes up per level via this complex formula. Like, I should link the formula.
Dude, so I started grinding illusion last night on my character because it's like, all right, I need to start getting points into this thing. So, my highest skills were like in like the 70s and 80s, and illusion was like around like 30, I think. No, 26 I started. And so I was sitting there, spamming my spells and stuff, and by the time I hit level 50, it's like, okay, now I got a level from it. And now it's up to level 70, so every like 5 or 6 level ups, I'm pretty much at another character level up. So that's really indicative, and I'm glad I got that on camera to show like how just fucked the like how do you like build around that? How do you predict?
Yeah. And the thing is, Skyrim doesn't tell you anything. And so if you're like, if I'm doing a normal analysis, all I usually go off of is what, I see in the game. So that's why a lot of this stuff's messed up, because they're doing what I normally do, but Skyrim tells you so little, but actually like has so much going on that it's very easy to just be wrong. Like all the people who think you can just level up forever. Anyways, so I started recording. Yeah, let's just introduce it and go. So I'll introduce, and then I'll pass it to Tetra to introduce himself. Okay. Hello and welcome. Hey, we're doing a podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself, co-hosts?
My name's Tetra. I run a very small, currently, YouTube channel. It's got 1,160 subscribers. People have labeled me as a Metal Gear Solid content creator, but that is false.
Aren't you just a fanboy?
That's right. I'm a Kojima shill. That's all I am.
Wasn't there, like, I legit saw a comment last night that was like, I've never once heard people suggest that MGS4 is a drop-off in quality. That's all I hear.
I literally just responded to that one today. And I was like, all I'm doing is parroting public popular discourse. I'm not even giving my own opinions in this particular case. That's all anyone ever says about MGS4.
So, Private, are you an MGS fan?
I played MGS3 like twice. So
no.
Maybe.
And what did you think?
I liked MGS3. But
well, I think more pressing is, so you're outside the MGS community. What's worse, them or Fallout?
Oh God, Fallout, without a doubt. Maybe that's because I'm closer to Fallout than I am MGS, but I feel like people take MGS just a little less seriously than they do Fallout. Fallout that's a life and death sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of MGS fans will acknowledge that that the series is silly. You know, they still like it, but like a lot of them will acknowledge that it's like it could be better. The writing's a little hack and whatever, but I get the feeling that Fallout is not that way, that it's very like these are like the best games ever made.
No, because Fallout New Vegas exists. So
yeah,
and that's coming from a person who, you know, I like Fallout New Vegas the best, but I like Fallout 3 as well, and there's parts of Fallout 4 I like. But you know, everybody has their game and they're ready to murder the fans of the other ones, and it's just like,
if I ever did it, I would do Fallout 3 and New Vegas side by side in a single video.
ooh.
fascinating.
Sounds like a lot of work though. So yeah, I always get asked, am I going to do Fallout? And I don't know the answer because of its community. Anyways, Private, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Private Sessions. I do long form video game analysis stuff. And I haven't released a video in a while because I'm lazy. And that's basically the end of it.
Oh, that's standard for the three of us. That's what happens when you start a podcast. Is you're not making
that's
content.
why I started part. Dude, I lost 3 subscribers yesterday when I started my live stream because I think people are getting sick of seeing me live streaming rather than like uploading new videos.
Actually, I think YouTube has like a auto clear feature where that's where it'll cull subscribers.
Oh, really?
Like, I
mean, I don't really care.
Have you ever heard? Well, yeah, I don't care either. But have you ever heard the conspiracy theory that like YouTube deletes subscribers? I think they just clean out like inactive subscribers, which I think is a good thing. So it's like people who sub to you for your really long Oblivion video and are waiting for like your 25-hour long Skyrim video, but haven't watched anything that made sense.
Probably, yeah.
Are probably just getting cleared out.
I think actually the most popular thing on my channel is Fallout, which is distressing because I am not even remotely like nearly well versed in Fallout as I am like Elder Scrolls, especially like Oblivion. So it's
maybe
no, I mean everybody. I get a lot of comments.
You're just inoffensive enough, and you haven't been featured on any kind of podcast utterly epic style owning you for your Fallout opinions.
Yeah.
And speaking of epic style owning, that's actually today's topic. We're going to be talking about, is it right to criticize people's videos? So I think the place to start would be, the common link between the three of us, if you haven't figured it out, is that we all have YouTube channels that revolve around criticizing video games. So Tetra does Metal Gear Solid games, and me and Private Sessions do, we do like Elder Scrolls.
Good games.
Yeah, good games. So, Tetra, how did we meet? Do you want to kind of get into that and like what we've done together?
Yeah, I remember it happening. Well, I mean, I had been watching you for a little bit. I think that I followed you on Twitter, and then that's how you found my videos.
There's a lot of stories that start like that because you're not the first person who followed me on Twitter, and I found their channel.
Right, and then I was in the Discord, and every now and again I show myself in there.
And so I decided to watch one of your videos, and I was so impressed that I offered a collaboration with you and did a video I actually wanted to do for a long time, but never felt it was right to do it. But it was like, he does Metal Gear, and I want to talk about Metal Gear Survive. So we did.
Yeah, and it was a great chance for me to actually play that game, because I never had.
I like that video, even now. I don't like all of the videos I make, but I like that one. Probably because it was only 15 minutes on my part.
Yeah, it's always the videos that you love the most that perform the worst.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. The Oblivion video did well, and I think that's one of my best works. So
yeah, but did you love making it? That's the question.
No,
did you love making it or not?
I loved making it the same way that like women like having children. Because it really was like 9 months of my life that went into making it. So,
wow.
On average, how many hours did you work a day on that video?
Oh, fuck. Probably. Well, okay. So here's the issue is anytime I did a side project, I would stop for like half a month on the project. So It's extremely difficult for me
Okay.
to guess how much work gets done every day. But yeah, there were days where like I worked 10 hours or something every day for a
I did
week.
a
That's when I had to
I did a
figure out I
9-hour
need to
day
take the
yesterday.
weekends off.
No, don't take weekends off. Take like Tuesday, like Monday and Tuesday off, or like Tuesday and Wednesday. Because then when you have to like actually do stuff, like go out to the supermarket or something, it's fucking empty. You don't want to go shopping on a Saturday. It's when everybody's shopping, you know?
I don't know. This is the kind of job when you can go shopping whenever.
Yeah, go shopping at 10 o'clock at night.
So we met private sessions through like mutual YouTube comments. Like some guy
Yeah.
commented on both our channels.
Yeah, yeah. So people kept like mentioning your name, and so the first time somebody name dropped you was very early on in my channel, and somebody was like, "Oh, we got to get you to that Patrician tier," and I was like, "The fuck's he talking about? Did he mean like Patreon or something? Does he want me to start a Patreon?" So then I was like, "Okay,
You
whatever."
immediately jumped to money.
I had no idea what the fuck this guy's talking about. So then, like a couple months later, I was going through like my the comments on my Oblivion video, and you know your name kept popping up. I was like, okay, I gotta go check this guy out. So I go and I see you have like a Morrowind video that's like 8 hours long or something like that. So I was like, oh, okay, now I see why people are comparing us. So then I started watching your video, and the introduction where you're just like, oh, I forgot how your introduction even went, where you're basically just explaining how the video is going to go. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I feel like this dude's talking to me. Like, it's we share we're sharing something here.
It's divisive.
Like,
It's divisive, but I stand by my introductions.
The first 5 minutes of that video sold me too. Just wanted to throw that in there. I was like, okay, I've got to watch this video.
Yeah,
now.
like, and I think it's because, you know, we're content creators and stuff. So we kind of like, we get like, I was tempted to make something like that for my Oblivion video, but I didn't because I was like, no, people are going to get turned off by that. So and then I saw Patrician doing it. I'm like, okay, hold on one sec. What is this? It's like, the way I would describe it is, like there's comedians out there that are just like the general population just does not find funny, but other comedians will fucking find them hilarious, and they're called like the comedian's comedian.
Right.
And that's kind of how Patrician, like that's how I felt with you, where it's like you're kind of
YouTuber's
the YouTuber doing this shit, like going out there and just like, you know,
well, and
like your live streams and stuff.
So it came into a meta sense while I was making the Oblivion video, because that's when I first started really watching other people's content. So I never did that for Morrowind, right? So, and to this day, I really haven't seen that many Morrowind videos. And I thought about it. Okay, so here's my thought process. I thought about doing it for Morrowind after I made the Morrowind video because, oh, hey, I know a lot about this game. I could do this. And it was like, well, it seems unproductive. Like, there's not really a lot of benefit to it. But why don't I do it with Oblivion that I'm currently working on? And I've told the story before. We live posted about Will Loves Video Games. I was like clipping his video and posting it in the Discord. And yeah, we did that for hours. And that kind of turned into the streams that we did.
Yeah, well, so people in Discord were like, dude, why don't you just stream this thing? Or was that your idea?
Yeah, it was kind of my idea because I already had the idea with the Morrowind stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to stream, because I'd been streaming a couple days prior to that anyways. Why don't I stream me watching the videos? And that kind of spun into a niche that I was apparently filling for a lot of people.
Let me tell you, and you know, maybe I'm a little bit biased or whatever, but like watching the Oblivion streams and stuff, or rather the ones for Skyrim, it's a very unique and entertaining format for sure. Something that I've definitely never seen.
Well, so that kind of gets into the central question for why we're here, which is, why is it typically considered okay for us to make videos about video games, but not about videos themselves? So I guess I'll ask Tetra because he seems the least active during the stream saga. So he's the most kind of an outsider for this question.
Yeah, you say that. I watched every single stream. I just
didn't chat.
I just don't talk during streams. No. In case you haven't noticed already, I'm kind of a quiet guy. But it's I do find it interesting. I actually had an idea a long time ago, like before I even really started making YouTube content, where I was going to like do a YouTube channel where the whole point is to critique YouTube channels.
That's surprisingly common in small YouTube, that somebody will try to come along and make that their thing. Did you ever participate in like small YouTube communities?
Right. I haven't. I don't. I took Reddit moment. I took a tiny look at the small YouTuber Reddit and then never went back.
Oh, I don't blame you.
That just seemed like one of those like get rich quick schemes to me. Like follow me, I'll follow you. Like I don't know.
There's legitimate
didn't appeal.
There's legitimate small YouTuber communities, but a lot of it is like, so a lot of it is like, hey, can you guys critique my videos? And then it's a bunch of small YouTubers critiquing other small YouTubers. And some guy will get the idea, hey, why don't I make that my channel? So your pitch was like almost identical to people I've seen in that community.
Okay, yeah. So a personal experience I've had with this particular topic, I had like 40 subs in January of 2021. And I sent my video in to be reviewed by a guy named Rasputin. Do you know that guy?
Yes. I mean, I don't know him, but he's
video
commented on my
essayist.
videos before.
Yeah, he does video essays. I really like his stuff. Anyway, he was doing these streams.
Is he the one that does the what games are like for people who've never played them videos?
Yes.
Okay. So you sent your video in.
Yeah, and he was doing these streams where he critiqued people's stuff. I sent my observation video in, which was maybe a strange decision, and I also don't like that video anymore. But he looked over it, and I got like a bump of like 40 subs, and I bring this up to say that he did, he was very firm with his critiques, but very, nice in a sense, and it's not.
I call that kid gloves.
We can have a whole discussion about nice. Yes, exactly. Well,
that was the Ace of
kid
Thorns
gloves
stream was kid gloves, and after one stream of doing that, I decided I can't deal with these small with criticizing these small YouTubers. Although that might be a fringe case.
Yeah. I got the feeling that he didn't see it that way. That he was just kind of trying to be nice in the interim of actually giving like pretty solid, advice. Because it was less like, wow, these takes are really bad, and more like, how can we improve your production? How can we improve like the content so that it's less boring? He's a big like of the opinion that the first 5 seconds are the most important, and so you've got to make sure that you grab them somehow or whatever. But that was actually a really positive experience for me, because I learned a lot from that, and I implemented a lot for that in the control video, which I think turned out way better. And so what I'm saying is that I don't think that there's anything wrong with critiquing other people's content. I think that it's actually really beneficial. The biggest thing is who's seeing you critique it and how are they going to take it, because Salt actually was pretty chill when he came into your stream,
He took it a lot better than his fans.
Yeah, it was the fans that were causing this sort of hullabaloo.
Well, okay, so
and that's,
in fairness, what you just described, yes, that's true that he did criticize you, but you also submitted it.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. I'm of the opinion that it doesn't have to be that way. Like, if you put your stuff onto YouTube, you're entering into a public forum in which you can be criticized. And you will be. And in fact, that's the whole point of you. That's like what YouTube comments are kind of there for, question mark, is oftentimes in our line of work to be criticized in theory, you know, other than for people to just say, hey, that was a really great video, or your take on MGS2 sucks, with, you know, no context.
Right. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that YouTube comments are bereft of context because there's no timestamp attached to them. So you can make the criticism that you want, but it's hard to apply it if it's super general. But
well, I find what you were saying is pretty interesting with like how people approach like, you know, comments and stuff like that, assuming, you know, going in with certain assumptions and stuff. And I feel like that applies to YouTube as a whole for both content creators and viewers. Is so when people start criticizing other like creators and stuff, there are people who are like, wait, hold on a second. I didn't come to this platform to be criticized or hear criticism of other creators and stuff. This is supposed to be like our space. Like we're supposed to be in this together, or like this is supposed to be my safe space or what. And but then there's other people here who are like, I think, you know, all of us in this chat will agree that it's a two-way sort of platform. That's why comments exist and stuff, and that's why, you know, at one point or another there was the like the video responses and stuff that they used to have on YouTube and everything, and it's like that's because, you know, it's okay to criticize other people and stuff like that. If you don't like to listen to the criticism, it's pretty easy to ignore it first off, or, you know, maybe you just shouldn't be making content for like millions of strangers to potentially watch.
Well,
like, I don't know.
I was thinking about the idea of like a tutorial video, kind of guiding people on making long form content, since I've done it twice and I've done it for so long that I could provide that information. And I think one of the first sections, one of the first sections is about should you do it? And there's there's a thing among small YouTubers that always bothered me, which is that a lot of them would say, I'm not doing it for the views or what have you. Which is a lie, because if you weren't doing it for the views, you would make the video and then, you know, keep it on your hard drive.
Release it. Yep.
So at some level, everybody who posts on YouTube is looking for views. And I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that. There's nothing wrong with wanting people to hear what you have to say.
There's nothing wrong with wanting the validation that you did a good job on a video. And like, that's what I like. That's how I see it. Yeah, that's how I see it when I get like a video, you know, that does well. It's like, wow, this, you know, I spent a long time working on this. I put a lot of effort in, and people are receptive to it. That's awesome, you know.
I think the issue is that a lot of people see YouTube as as like a series of gated communities. And the problem is, if I start going wrong as a channel, I want people to tell me, basically.
Yeah.
I think the answer has to do with the fact that game analysis and broader media analysis has been used to for a long time sort of being that series of gated communities, and very recently has like the door been opened to the idea that you can criticize the people who make their living criticizing. I think Channel Awesome probably started that when they started to have their downfall and people were like criticizing some of the decisions that they were making with their productions.
Right. I was a fan of them when they started to kind of go downhill. There was this sort of like paradigm shift of like, before it almost seemed like you're either a fan of Channel Awesome or you don't watch Channel Awesome. You know, those are your two options. And then all of a sudden people started like talking about Channel Awesome as if they were like the movies that Doug Walker talks about on his thing, like on his show. And I don't know who started it or why or how, but I think that there's positivity there simply in the fact that, you know, people can voice their opinions on whether or not this content is, you know, actually being what it could be. And we've been doing that for years with movies, television, now video games. And so if this stuff that we're putting out on YouTube is a creative endeavor meant to entertain at the forefront, or inform, then why can't people critique that and your ability to entertain or inform in order to get better? Channel Awesome was sort of in the wrong in the sense that they didn't take any of the criticism and just kind of kept getting worse. But the positivity is there, there's a good thing that can come out of that.
Well, I guess that sort of broaches the question of what is our goal with what we're doing here. Do we see ourselves purely as entertainers? Anything we make can be, entertainment. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Or are we meant to be serious critique where it's like, no, I want the people who made this game to hear this and take these things into consideration. And if that's the case, then do we have to be qualified in some way to make that criticism?
I hope not, or my channel's over.
Well, I mean,
so
right.
You have experience with sound engineering, and that was the most interesting part of the Metal Gear Solid video, was when you were analyzing the audio tapes from your perspective of being a professional in that field.
That's fair.
So anyways, you were saying, Private?
So this was one of the questions that... So I've been making just stuff in general for years. Before I was doing YouTube and stuff, I did a lot of like creative writing. And, a lot of the questions that I ask myself now, I was asking myself years ago when I was, thinking like, should I become a professional writer or something like that? And ultimately, when I started doing like the YouTube thing and everything, and I started my Oblivion video, I was doing it because I just wanted to make the video. There was really no further like sort of reasoning behind it. I wasn't sitting there I didn't think anybody was even gonna fucking watch the thing, to be perfectly honest. So I was just making it because I liked to make things. And then I realized after my channel actually started to grow and stuff, I was like, okay, I need to actually start taking this seriously. I feel like there's a responsibility on my end now to start answering these serious questions about why I'm doing this. So now I'm starting to come around to more of my general philosophy is that I just like to discuss things. I like discussing things that I'm interested in. And that's why, we're like, I agreed to doing the podcast. I agreed to go on your show a few weeks ago when we were looking at my video and everything. I like to just talk about shit. That's my thing. So I see like my position is more like, I just want to have discussions, start discussions, and try and facilitate, discussions any way I can. That doesn't necessarily mean what I'm going to say is like, as an authority figure, I don't really believe that any developers are going to watch my videos and take those ideas seriously. It's more just for the community so that we can try and create better ideas together.
So you would say it's entertainment then? It's not serving an industrial application of helping the product be better.
Is that entertainment though? I feel like it's more academic. I would see it's more as academic than anything. I mean, for me, learning and communicating and stuff, that is entertaining, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But to call something entertaining, just, I don't know. Like,
it has
maybe
connotations,
I just have like
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I maintain an optimistic interpretation of entertainment that it can include academics.
See, I've always, like, I forgot where I picked up this term. I think might have been like a Smarter Everyday video, but there's like, or at least there was at one point, like a term for like entertaining and educational content on YouTube. It was like infotainment.
Yeah,
or edutainment. Yeah. Like I've heard it from different names and stuff. So I've always like thought of it as something different. Like entertainment is something that's really just meant to distract and like escapism sort of entertainment. Or
well, then I suppose that raises the question: if there's an academic aspect to it, are we properly modeling ourselves on academics?
I never even thought about doing that until I came across your channel and you started doing, like your sourcing and everything. And I was just like, oh, wait, maybe we should be doing this more. Maybe we should be getting more serious and conducting ourselves in a more academic manner.
Why then you raise the question of, well, does that slow down an already slow kind of field where it's like, none of us have released a video in the last month, I think. So if we're taking more time to do it right, does that slow us down? And is it worth slowing down for that? Or are we fine where we're at?
That's up to the individual creator, I think. If you want to, I don't know how sustainable our format is in terms of being able to do this full time and be successful and live a happy, rich lifestyle, the lifestyle that a lot of YouTubers like to chase. I don't know if that's possible or not with the rigor that we have to hold the videos to and the amount of research we got to conduct and everything. But if people are okay with not doing this as a full-time career or something, and they just want to do this as an academic hobby or something, at least until, I don't know, some sort of organization comes along where we can pool resources or something. I don't know how that end goal would be, what that would look like. I mean, that's when you think about in the greater context of the world and stuff, that's what universities do. They are meant to facilitate academic research and stuff because that has value to society in one form or another. That doesn't exist for video game analysis, not yet anyway. We might be seeing that coming along sometime soon, but right now it's still just a community type thing. If you're okay with not so much being huge and successful and releasing 6 videos a year, then yeah, by all means join the community right now.
You guys are releasing 6 videos a year?
But if not, You still, you can do the old format where it's just, all right, I'm going to release a video every month or every 2 weeks or something like that. And my videos are just not going to be as well researched or just not as in depth. There's still, the thing is that there's so much room still. I feel like with the amount of games that are out there, with the amount of ways you can cover it, the amount of types of videos you can make and stuff like that, I feel like there's so much room for more creators to still come in and
well, yeah, because there's not, we barely get one video a week in this community.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an opportunity what I did with Tetramore, where we work with small channels to kind of handle the more rigorous parts. So my Metal Gear Survive video, I mostly focused on the mechanics and what could be observed from playing the game. And Tetra handled the part that had to do with Metal Gear Solid that would have actually taken me legwork to try and find a lot of that stuff out, because I'm familiar with the series, but I haven't played it. Since you did it, Tetra, what's your thoughts on outsourcing research to smaller channels? Do you think that's an appropriate thing to do?
I mean, yes, especially if we're talking about, channels that specialize. I'm going to say this, but I'm not a Metal Gear Solid content creator. Throwing out that out there. Channels that specialize in certain video game niches, like specific series, Metal Gear Solid, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, whatever. There's a lot of value in that because you can obviously produce much faster, but also you can bring up those smaller content creators and kind of uphold them as long as you believe in their content, so that they can grow and we can sort of cultivate a mixing pot of all of these different content creators that are hopefully making good things quickly, and part of, Survive as a game, is pretty bad, but I think it deserved to be talked about. There aren't a lot of people talking about it. And so if that was what was required, was for you to go and find somebody who knew about the series so that they could speak to some of the more esoteric concepts in the context of the other 8 games or whatever that are in the series, as well as Kojima and Konami and all of the wild crap that happened around that time, then I think that that's a really valuable thing.
So is it worth, like, I get a lot of like smaller channels kind of popping in the community since I've been supportive of them. Kind of, is it worth keeping that spirit going? And like, at what extent, what's the threshold you would say where it's no longer appropriate to kind of be doing other people's research for them or helping them out with their projects? I ask because I paid you
when
an
it's
exposure.
Detracting. Yeah. I would say when it's detracting from my own ability to make stuff for my own channel. You know,
but we did
because
that Metal Gear Survive video, and then you made one video and disappeared.
Right. That I don't feel as though personally that had anything to do with that. That was largely on the fact that October and September are very busy months for me at my job. Because I feel as though obviously the Survive video was incredibly beneficial for my channel. Because I shot up about 1,000 subs largely because of that video.
Because
even though
it
underperformed
started from the
on your
beginning.
channel.
We started from the beginning with the idea that like this was your pitch.
Right. Yeah, and so that was obviously really valuable for me. I don't personally see that it detracted from my ability to make videos on my channel at all, because believe it or not, I have been working on a single video pretty much since then. It's just been a long process because, 80 hours a week at the beginning of November and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, when I was a small channel, it was get home from work and then start working on the Morrowind video, which can be tough. And so I sympathize with that. So I guess since we have like private here who has 10,000, would you ever, like, if let's say some 6-figure YouTube channel approaches you and says, hey, I need someone who's more knowledgeable about Fallout to help me with my project. Kind of what has to be offered for that to be worthwhile to you?
They would have to offer me a lot of just straight up cash, in all honesty, because it's like I already have enough opportunities to make money. My channel's already fine enough. My channel's in a position where I'm very lucky in that basically all that's holding my channel back now is the fact that I just don't release enough content. So exposure is not going to do anything for me at this point.
You've been
Not
exposed.
Really. Yeah. So if I'm helping somebody work on a video or something, that's time that's being taken away from me being able to work on my own stuff, or God forbid, go out and get a real job or something like that, So if they're going to bring me on, I'm going to charge them like as if I'm an actual employee. So
yeah, I would say that's fair. And there's been a move towards, I've noticed multiple YouTube channels, like analysis channels, that are trying to figure out how to hire editors and incorporate them into their workflow so that they can increase their output. Is it better to, like, okay, so if we treat it like a video game, where is the best place to put the money? Is it in editing or is it in research? Which would result in a better product?
If I was doing it, it would be probably research, honestly. I can edit pretty quickly, and from what I can tell, people are not as, like, putting a lot of fancy editing and stuff into it might get you a few comments and stuff, but it's not going to be what pulls in views. Good audio is going to be what retains viewership, but, like, mediocre visuals and stuff like that it's just not how a lot of people consume these videos, really. Like, even when I'm watching and stuff, I'm like half paying attention to like what's actually going on. I'm usually listening while browsing websites.
I'm gonna say,
or eating or something.
I watched your videos in quotes. I listened to them.
Exactly. That was a mistake that I made originally, was that I thought the opposite, where I should really put a lot of effort into visuals and stuff like that, make it stand out. But like once I started actually talking to people, my videos got enough views that I was getting comments. people were like, yeah, I really love listening to this while I'm like doing homework or like doing laundry. And it's like, okay. I mean, I put a lot of time into editing these videos, but I guess, so now I just pump out the video as fast as I can when it comes to editing. Just, for me, it's the most time consuming part is playing, researching, and writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, writing is definitely the worst part. Yeah. It's a fun part because it's where you're the most creative. But I've told this to the patrons. When I get stuck editing, I can do other things to keep the project going. When I get stuck writing, I'm just stuck.
Yeah, that's
There's
the brick
not
wall.
anything else I can do. So I guess then the question we have to ask is, and what was the question?
We were talking about like pooling resources and stuff, and so here's an idea. So
go ahead.
So you're working on your Skyrim video. I'm working on a Mass Effect video, but I'm also working on a Skyrim video myself. So it seems like it would make sense for you and I to team up and just work on a single video together. I handle one part, you handle another part. Problem is,
your fans
YouTube doesn't have.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube doesn't really facilitate that sort of relationship. Like, it's either the video has to go on somebody's channel. Mm-hmm. There's no point uploading it to two different channels. That's just gonna, if it doesn't cause conflicts with the algorithm,
we could start we could start a mutual channel and both be like owners. But
it's, I mean, it goes back to like the money and stuff too.
You would have to keep making channels for every combination. And the thing is, when you host a second channel, it has a small fraction of the original audience.
Yep.
So it's like, my second channel is smaller than Tetra's main channel. So like when people ask me, hey, can you stream on your second channel? The answer is no, I can't. The streams would be dead.
Yep.
So I guess the question I have to ask then is, we're talking a lot about research. Is it actually necessary? The question we have to ask ourselves is the lens I'm looking at Skyrim videos fair to these people who are creating it? And could I match that level of rigor with something that, with one of the side projects? I mean, I'm not expecting you guys to know if that's the case or not, but that's sort of my question is, is my perspective fair?
When you say, so the rigor as in the rigor that you've like, say, made your Oblivion video, is that what you're talking about in terms of...
Yeah, sort of like research and attention to detail.
And the rigor that you expect from the rest of the Skyrim videos that just they didn't live up to. I think somebody in the Discord said something after the Salt stream. And they were like, Pat, you maybe know who this was, but they were like, I can't believe, like, I couldn't watch that stream because Pat was demanding the video be something that it wasn't.
Yeah, that's definitely a silly one. Like, of course I'm expecting it to be something it isn't. That's how it works. It's the same thing we do with video games.
But to one degree or another, I feel like there is a let's just hypothetically use that Salt video.
It's a good
he's
example.
Doing this sort of he's doing this sort of opinion piece, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that I like that video, dislike it, whatever. He's doing this sort of opinion piece where he's just sort of relaying his experiences with it, and he's getting stuff wrong, perhaps. Is it then the expectation that they have to be like, okay, but here's how it actually is, even though my experiences are wrong, this is how the game actually works or whatever, because that video isn't an analysis. It's more of a analysis versus retrospective. Here I go. It's more of an opinion piece rather than like an analysis.
I would say it's a subjective retrospective as opposed to, honestly, I think retrospective, he can have the retrospective title in the divorce. I'll keep the analysis title. I think that's a fair split. But well, that was something that I was trying to mention in the stream, is that Salt Factory's goal is different than my general goal when it comes to video making. His channel is all about him. How does is it as good as I remember? Is it
cult of personality?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't even say cult of personality. It's the idea that people watch reviewers because they project themselves into the shoes of that reviewer, and so if it's as good as Salt Factory remembers, then might be as good as you remember.
Yeah. And so do you think, as the person who made those streams, that it's then, because if that's his goal, right? That's his whole goal. Is it then fair to expect even though that wasn't his goal, to have this hyper researched analysis of Skyrim, that you still kind of like are, criticizing him under the lens of someone who's making an analysis?
Okay, so I think it gets muddled because the goals of the streams wasn't to be a counterpoint to those videos. And I think that is what confuses a lot of people, is they're expecting the streams to be like an expose or Salt Factory is actually wrong, and it's like, well, no, that's not the goal. Because if that was the goal, I would have seen the video beforehand. I would have a list of all the arguments that were made, and I would have pre-written arguments to everything. And I would look a lot better because I would kind of be more intelligent with how I was countering things. It really is genuinely, I'm watching the video for the first time and putting my thought process out there. And so, like Aetherthorn had this problem where he brings up in his video that like a patch added some lore detail, and I was like, is that true? Like what patch was it? And like he got really defensive that I was like questioning into it, and he didn't realize I wasn't questioning it because I was criticizing him. I was questioning it because I'm curious how true it is and if it would be something that would be good for my video. And so that's kind of my thought process, is that a lot of people got confused about what the stream even was.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, I think that that it's understandable. It can be kind of easy to forget the goal of those streams.
Well, and if you just hopped in because you saw Salt Factory's name and you like Salt Factory, and like
exactly.
That was sort of the thing, was like, do I put on, like, is there some 6-word mission statement I could put on the screen to convey the idea of what we're doing here? And the answer was ultimately no.
Because basically, you're running into a genre issue. There's no defined genre for the type on YouTube for the type of stream that you're doing. So people go in there with certain expectations, and basically you're gonna have to define that genre.
The closest is EFAP, and even then, I think the EFAP comparisons are somewhat unfair because they are trying to do the let's respond to
it's for people
video.
ribbing,
and there's a fair assumption that at least one of the people in there has seen the video before they do the stream, and it's not so for me. Or like with Aetherthorn and the Stag drama, I keep having to explain who Stag is. They're
that was a fun one.
Yeah, they're just an EFAP light, and I think they would even admit that. But I was like trying to figure out what their goal was, and their goal
Furry
really
EFAP.
is just watching videos and criticizing them because they want videos to be better. Which I suppose then we have to ask, is that valid? I mean, it's valid, but is it more valid than this like air of friendly criticism that we do up to this point?
The question is valid to whom? Like, say Stag decided to watch my video, like one of my videos, because I've done Fallout videos.
Right.
Say they wanted to watch one, and they started giving like feedback or whatever. The only way I'm gonna know if that feedback exists is if I sit there and watch their video, their streams. I mean, people might be able to send me some comments or whatever, but I could just tell them, I could ignore those comments, or tell people on my Discord, don't talk about Stag. I don't want to listen. I don't want to hear it. So like that's. So people are like, well, they would criticize Stag for basically giving unsolicited criticism, unsolicited advice, whatever. But for me, it's like, no, I could very well solicit that if I just tune in. Like, I don't have, like, I don't have any problems with that then. So that's where it's like,
yeah,
who's the one who's getting like offended here in this sort of situation?
I think constructive criticism has entered the conversation a little bit too often, because I don't think constructive criticism is part of it. I mean, it might be for EFAP and Stag, but it's not for me. My goal never was how can you make a better video?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be. That's, you know, and if it's constructive criticism but say, you know, they're giving me constructive criticism, but I don't want to hear it. Well, then it's not constructive criticism anymore.
It's just criticism.
Then it's just criticism.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, FYI, for people who think that there is. No, of course not. That just means that they are doing a different show then. Like, they're not doing it for my benefit. They're doing it for the audience's benefit and, of course, their benefit because they want to put on a good show. So it's, you know, it's different then. I'm not going to hold it against them regardless. It's a weird thing there are people when EFAP does it, it makes sense because they're big YouTubers. It's weird that, like, people who are on the smaller side are doing it now.
I get it. I get the temptation because I'm willing to bet, and I was in this situation too where I considered doing something, not really considered it, but I thought about it anyway, where it's like, well, you know, I spend a lot of time watching videos on YouTube and stuff. I don't think I could ever make good YouTube videos about, like, you know, video game analysis. The fuck do I know about video game analysis? I know what a good YouTube video is from the perspective of a audience. Like, I could just watch videos and, you know, give opinions and stuff like that. It's once again, it's an open platform first off, and there's definitely, there'd probably be a demand for something like that. I'd decide not to do it, but, you know, I could totally see it.
I mean, you've said it before, Pat, that you are more qualified to do YouTube critique than you are video game critique.
Yeah, and I stand by that because of the levels of experience involved. I mean, I've done a bit of amateur game development, but it's not a lot. Never published a game. There's a lot about that world I don't know, and I try to learn about it. That's the point of the research. I want to know more about how it's done, but at the end of the day, you know, I do know a lot about how YouTube works.
So I think that if EFAP and Stag's goal were specifically to do constructive criticism and to make the platform a better place as far as the content that's being put up, then the format is probably wrong, right? Because they grab a video, right? And then they just, or at least one person has watched it before. And then they just let it play and they talk about it. But if you think about, like, you know, the earlier form of critique or analysis that we're almost parroting in a lot of ways is like, you know, writing on movies by movie critics. And it's not, they had a completely different form of content that was for their, like, active opinions of a movie as they watch it. It was called something, riff tracks. It was called riff tracks. Mm-hmm. And that was not when they were giving their, like, watch it live, give your opinions live. That's not when they're, like, actually, you know, saying, here's how to make this a better movie or whatever, or here's how this movie fails, here how it could be better or whatever. That's just when they're, you know, making fun of the movie or doing whatever. And so the format may be a point of contention there, because that's not a very conducive format to constructive criticism.
Yes.
If that was their goal, then I'm of the opinion that they're failing. Now, if their goal is to entertain at the expense of someone else's video, then they're definitely succeeding.
Well, the thing is, like, over half of Salt Factory's library, and by the way, we're talking a lot about Salt Factory. I did a bunch of creators. But, like, a lot of these creators have released more videos after their Skyrim video than they have before, right? Like, that's the case for Salt Factory, I think. So there's no use in constructive criticism for things that Salt Factory probably already knows. There's no point in criticizing his audio production quality. Why wouldn't we watch his most recent video if that was the goal?
Yeah, but the goal is not constructive criticism of a content creator. It's simply, I mean, I don't like it's simply to entertain at the expense of a video, you know, and they're picking the videos that people like, that it's easiest to talk about, or the videos that that the most people are going to have seen or care about the content of, in the case of videos specifically related to Skyrim or whatever, which is a pretty large reason why the relation like there's really no relationship between what you do and what they do, because you have a different goal in mind. Whether the audience always recognizes what that goal is a different question. You're just taking notes.
Yeah. Well, there was an odd correlation. So Salt Factory had pretty bad fans, and then Never Knows Best had like even worse fans. But there's not really a correlation in like viewership or popularity with that. Kind of your response made me think about like, is there a correlation? Like, is it just that Salt Factory's popular and that's why we're hearing the most about him? Because he is popular. But then like you had Never Knows Best, and there were a lot of people going up to bat for him. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. So before I ask my kind of last question and then we wrap up, is there any elements of this that you guys kind of want to ask about and enter into the discussion?
So like ask of you specifically?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I think that I'm doing a comprehensive job, but obviously there's two other people here who might have noticed something that I've missed so far. The last thing I want to bring up is like the validity of the channel sizes of the videos that I watch. So that's like I know that's one thing we haven't talked about. Is there anything else that kind of needs to be brought up?
Well, so we're talking about like different, like basically like different fandoms, different groups of people who like different content creators. And I feel like the ultimately, so it's like there's no rhyme or reason when it comes to looking at how like the quality of fans, if you want to call it that, and like the size of the channel. What I think it ultimately comes down to is the personality of the content creator themselves, because at the end of the day, and this is something that I feel like people kind of forget about YouTube, is that it's a social media platform, and those are two in like, you can't divorce one from the other on YouTube. Is, you know, the media is the video, and then the social part is the personality that comes through with it, the comments and the openness of the platform itself. So people, whether they know it or not, approach YouTube with certain desires, let's say. And I think ultimately what Salt Factory pulls from is a lot of people who just want to kind of have that feeling that they're just hanging out with like a friend or something like that. And Salt Factory definitely gives that sort of like, you know, everyday sort of normal guy vibe. So he's just, you know, sitting there chilling, talking about what he thinks about the game and his experiences with it, memories and all that. So he's not really, it's weird that, at least the Skyrim video, he called it an analysis, because there wasn't that much analysis to it. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's a bad video, or that it's without value. It's a hugely popular video. Clearly there is value. People find value in it.
No, that's absolutely,
it has a lot of
something
likes.
We can talk about, which is the terms we use to describe our videos. I think he says outright in his introduction that he's making it's an analysis.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. But the other problem is that, like I didn't realize I was committing myself to something when I was calling my videos retrospectives. I was just like, yeah, you know, everybody's calling their videos retrospectives. I'll call my videos retrospectives. And it's like, no. Retrospectives are a specific type of like analysis, really. And
They're supposed to anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't realize that. And I'm sure there are plenty of other creators on the platform who don't really, they're using terms and stuff because they're buzzwords, and that's what the algorithm's going to pick up. And not necessarily because
it
that's
helps you
the
find
definition
similar
of their
styles
video.
of content too. Like, I'll be honest, the only reason retrospectives are in my title, why it's called a quick retrospective, is a search engine optimization reason.
Yeah.
I don't consider my videos a retrospective at all.
Yeah, because a retrospective,
It implies that there's a focus on subjectivity.
Yeah, it's about like your personal experiences with it. Like ideally, in a proper retrospective video, you would have an entire section that's dedicated to like your history with the game and like I remember when, you know, I got the game when I was like 13 years old, and you have like a whole like 20-minute spiel about that. That's what a proper retrospective is supposed to incorporate. But, you know, everybody just uses retrospective.
I always call it establishing nerd cred.
Yeah.
That's kind of the term I've come up with is, here's the part where I establish why I'm an authority on the subject that we're talking about. And it's like, who cares, right?
You know what's funny?
I like to look at my script and see like what faux pas am I committing in the Oblivion video. So I'm proud to announce I don't think I mentioned plot holes once in the Oblivion video.
But it's funny. See, you look at that from a cynical perspective when somebody starts establishing that. It's like, oh, they're establishing nerd cred. I see that as like, oh, this is like, I'm getting to know this guy. Like it's helping me establish a sort of rapport with him and understand, like, and this is what Salt Factory does a lot. And that's why, like, I think a lot of people like latch onto him is like, he introduces a lot of his sort of history and stuff like that. And you develop this sort of mental profile of him. And I think that's the social aspect of it is, you know,
I think I've identified the problem.
It's subjectivity.
Well, no, it's that Salt Factory encourages creating a parasocial relationship with a video, but the problem I noticed a long time ago is that how people act in videos and how people act on stream are two completely different things. And it's weird that it's weird to me that people comment on this, that like I'm different in the streams. And it's like, yeah, Patrician is a character who exists to talk about the videos. Do you really think that I like sit around all day and wax poetic about design? No, of course not. I'm going to, talk a lot about what's going on in my life. And so it's one thing to form a parasocial relationship with a streamer. It's another thing to think that you formed a parasocial relationship with somebody who is, recording a pre-scripted sort of video.
Heavily edited too.
I don't think that a lot of people realize that content like what we make is heavily scripted. Every single, even if I like,
it's extremely deliberate.
When I write, I will write in sentences that I know will make me laugh in the moment so that I laugh while I'm recording them. It's really heavily scripted in order to give a certain character.
The worst is trying to fake laugh.
Oh God.
Well, I was a theater major, so I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, I can do the fake laugh, but I hate recording it because it feels fake.
Yeah.
I'm a business major. I have absolutely no chops when it comes to
personality,
performing.
No personality. Okay.
I approach things like a salesman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you always come across like that. Like you're doing a value assessment.
Here's why you should like this thing. Why you should buy it.
So, yeah, I think that's the issue, is that there's a parasocial element to this conversation, and that's just like alien to me because I actively discourage people forming parasocial relationships with my videos.
And it's impossible, though. I'm telling you right now, it's impossible.
Oh, of course it's impossible. There's people who are going to think they're my friends because they heard me talk about Oblivion for a long time.
I was seeing it in your chat during the live streams. There were people who were just like absolutely clamoring for your attention and stuff. And it's like, bro, you're in the wrong place right now.
Well, yeah, you're in a dangerous place because I put people in chat on blast. But yeah,
if you enter chat, you're now part of the show.
Yeah, there's a deliberate element to videos, and I think it's important that people understand that. Like, this podcast is very off the cuff. Like, this is me and Tetra's first conversation, me and Private's like third conversation. It's very, you're seeing the moments where it's like you're seeing stuff that I would cut from the video.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with streams. It's like, if I fuck up on stream, there's no like editing it out. You can do it after the fact, but not, not live.
Well, I was doing a live stream yesterday of Mass Effect 3, and I had a moment where I kind of stopped and I was just like, I like doing these live streams because I can bitch about like really stupid petty shit that would make my videos look terrible if I put those in. So right then and there, that's that's the complete difference between a live stream and a video. It's that I pick and choose what goes into a video because, yeah, like some criticism's valid, and other points it's just I'm just criticizing just for the sake of criticizing, and I'm not gonna put those points into a video that would invalidate my video.
So, Tetra, did you have anything else that you've been kind of dying to bring up in this conversation?
I think that you guys' perspective on retrospective is actually different than mine, because I was always under the opinion that the word retrospective was supposed to refer to a video in which you take an older game in the context of what came out since then, and relate and kind of relate it to that, and how it fares in the greater gaming landscape especially with things that we can't have possibly known at the time, like, for example, Fallout 3's shooting and relating it to Fallout 4's.
Right. So
looking at it from that sort of context.
In the hard meaning of the word, there's two definitions for retrospective: looking back on or dealing with past events or situations. That makes sense because that's what the words literally mean. And then there's the other definition: an exhibition or compilation showing the development of the work of a particular artist over a period of time.
Okay, yeah.
So you're kind of right in the sense of, if you're doing a Fallout retrospective, you have to relate Fallout 3 to Fallout 4 and to Skyrim and to Oblivion and to games of the time, which is a nightmare because the worst part about working on Skyrim is now I have to talk about Fallout a lot more.
Which, you're talking about research and the rigor involved in that. Go down the rabbit hole of another entire franchise that is almost as large as Elder Scrolls, and it's like, how the hell do you make a video like that? You got to draw the line somewhere eventually.
Well, yeah, I've been playing Fallout 4 recently
Definitely.
as a melee build, trying to figure out, like, is Bethesda improving at making melee combat systems? I think Fallout 4's melee combat is worse than Skyrim's, if I can be completely honest. That's my read.
Well, that would make sense.
Enough.
I'm like level 10 or something, but yeah, it does not feel like a good system. So, yeah, I've always considered there to be a difference between analysis and retrospective. Retrospective, its hard definition doesn't imply subjectivity, but I think that's the mold that it's fit into in this genre of media analysis, is that these are the subjective videos, and analysis is going to be the objective kind of, let's look at the facts and talk about that kind of style. Because there is a big sectoral division on YouTube between subjective and objective media analysis.
So the way I approach it on my channel, retrospectives are shorter videos. Deconstructed are the longer videos.
Nice.
Bam, done. Give me that SEO now.
It's just branding. Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing. Was I asked Acerthorn why he was changing the dates in his videos, because I consider that to be, you're not looking at Skyrim from a 2021 perspective, because there's literally a new version of the game that you don't talk about. I asked him why he did that, and his answer was SEO.
Yeah, I mean, part of the hustle, right?
Yeah, I guess.
If I can play fast and loose.
Can Angry Joe keep just like changing the year that is in the title of his video and claiming that it's still relevant? At some point you just have to admit that your video is dated and let the new people kind of.
It's false advertising.
Well, that's why we need thumb downs, and we need comments, because that's up to the. This is why viewer feedback is so important, because
because
there are no rules here.
Yeah, you can be dishonest. So, kind of the last element I wanted to bring into it, and sort of what ended the first sort of series of Skyrim streams. I don't know if there's going to be a second series, but I think there's going to be more Skyrim streams. Was answering the question of how do we deal with criticizing smaller channels. So like you brought it up before we started, this idea of if you criticize someone who's bigger than you, then you're clout chasing. And that was most of the streams. But if you criticize someone smaller than you, then you're punching down. So I've got 3 people of different sizes, and we'll kind of get some perspectives on this punching down phenomenon. So I guess, do we want to do biggest to lowest or lowest to biggest?
Just do Tetra first.
Okay, so
I haven't talked too much.
My opinions on punching down and clout chasing.
yes. Like, is that a valid element of the conversation?
I think that people are using those terms in the same way that they use the like idea that there is no such thing as objective like criticism of a game. In the fact that they're just using something to devalue your stance. I don't think that there is any legitimacy to those terms. And I think that it requires a normalization of content creator to content creator criticism on YouTube, because there isn't any of that right now.
Yeah, there's no standard. There's people who do it, but there's no sort of standard thinking.
There's no standard, and there's no ideas of like what makes it right, what makes it wrong, you know, when have you crossed a line, like whatever, you know, not necessarily saying that there should be like set boundaries or anything like that. That would be weird, but
well, okay, so
know what I'm saying? Like,
here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask each of us different tiers and so they criticize your worst video in your opinion, and it's a different size creator with different amounts of sizes of audiences. We'll assume there's a standard of what level they criticize at, right? So Tetra, you know, a guy who's 1,000 subscribers criticizes your video. What do you think? Is that valid?
Sure, as long as their critiques are valid.
So then, well, okay, so that would be true. That would be true of everything, so you don't have to mention it each time. You know, but like, what does he know about being a successful creator?
Yeah, I get that perspective. I don't necessarily have it. And the large reason being that most of the people that are critiquing things on YouTube do not have the actual experience required to do so. And so if, you know, if as long as they're bringing up valid points, then there's nothing necessarily saying that they can't critique one of my videos if they wanted to.
All right, so then how about a guy who's 10,000 subscribers? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing. I don't personally have this vendetta against people that would want to criticize. And in fact, if I was going to answer the question of why do I do this, it's to start discussions.
Right.
And so if they're discussing my video specifically, then that's a win for
thing.
me, even if they think I suck. Yeah.
So then 100,000. Same deal? 1 million?
Yeah.
Is there
I mean, I don't.
Is there a line, because I wonder this. With the Oblivion stream series, you know, I was getting 200 viewers a stream. I had like 30,000 subs. With the Skyrim series, I had 60,000 subs and I was getting like 500 viewers a stream. Is there a point where, you know, you have such a viewership that it could actually be detrimental to do this kind of thing with a small creator?
I could see it being a problem if the criticism is, you know, done in such a way to where, you know, the content creator that's doing the criticizing is alienating those people from ever wanting to check out this guy's channel, you know, vampirizing their viewership essentially, even if those
that's
people
an awkward
are,
question,
you know,
is what if their stream gets more views than your video?
Yeah, which would not be difficult.
Well, yeah, there were
point.
some Skyrim videos that were on the docket that had less views than the average Skyrim stream.
Right.
So on the one hand, you could think of it as there's a lot of people that could be getting introduced to it, but on the other, you could look at it like, this guy is setting a bad tone for my channel and sort of alienating this audience that could be my potential viewer base. So then you have to wonder, at what size does it stop being appropriate to go after other size creators? So I guess I'll pass it to private. A guy with 1,000 subs criticizes you private. What do you think?
I criticize you private. What do you think?
It's fine, as you know, as long as
it's valid.
Yeah, as long as you're saying something that I want to that I can take to heart.
What if he's tearing into you? He's not making as much fair criticism.
Then I would just kind of stop listening. I guess I would just fuck off. Let him do his thing.
Let him scream in his
thing
corner.
is, it doesn't matter if this is gonna be the same response. If you're gonna ask me the same questions, it's gonna be the same response, because the way I see it, YouTube works best when it's an open platform where people are allowed to express what they want to express, how they want to express it, where they want to express it, when they want to express it. Like, you need to have we need to have as much openness on this platform as possible, and people need to kind of, like, I don't want to say get over it, but they need to figure out where they're going to, how much they're willing to listen to the criticism and stuff like that. Are they going to listen to all right, so here's a different way then. Why would it be like, why should I be so offended about some dude who has 1,000 subscribers, making criticism, when I also have people in my comments who are criticizing directly? Like, is it because he just has a larger platform that now suddenly I'm more intimidated by it? I don't know. It becomes one of those things where and I'm not the type of person that wants to worry about things that are beyond my control. And in situations like this, it's like, you can't stop criticism,
right,
unless you start issuing DMCAs and all this other crap. So I can either roll with it or ignore it, but there's no like sort of middle.
There's a difference between engaging with it and it being valid. And I think validity is not, is it allowed to be on the platform? I think validity is it right to be on the platform? Is there a level of qualification that you need that we should expect?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think, because if we start playing that game where it's like, oh well, what is your credentials for criticizing stuff like that? What is the credentials for all my commenters? It goes back to that.
That's one of those haughty ways to
dismiss something.
Ignore challenging opinions.
Right.
And it's like, that's why I would rather ignore credentials pretty much altogether and just look at it as, do I agree with this person? Does this person make a sound argument? If I disagree, then all right, I'm just gonna turn the other way, kind of ignore it. But if I agree, then there might be something there that I can use.
Well, I suppose another question then. Are you entitled to be able to, because we had this happen, are you entitled to be able to go onto that person's stream and talk with them? I mean, like how you went on my stream.
Why not? I mean, it's ultimately up to the showrunner who's going to be on their show or not. But I think it would benefit a lot of creators, both the people who are hosting the thing and the people who are being criticized, to get up there and actually,
see, this is
take the criticism. And
this is where I disagree, because there were 2 instances where people asked to come on the stream, and I said no to them, despite letting you on. Yes, that was Indigo Gaming and Acer Thorn, and there were different reasons. Indigo wanted to be on the stream to talk, but it was after we did his stream. And so,
okay.
And so, I mean, I'm completely open. I told him, if we get a podcast rolling, he's more than welcome to come on. And I'm more than willing to go on his if he figures out what he's doing with that show, right? I'm more than willing to talk to him. But to spur the moment think that you can just pop in is, I think, presumptive. And that kind of brings it to the other thing that is really necessary to understanding my perspective, which is that Acer Thorn asked to come on. And in that situation, I would say hardline no, because I do not want to let him dictate the tempo of how I would watch the video, because full well he's going to want to debate each point that I bring up. And I think
so that's why I said, like, ultimately it's up to the show, the person who's putting on the show, who's going to be on their show.
Mm-hmm. It's easier when you were coming on beforehand, and I knew that you were coming on because you brought something to it. And a lot of people liked that stream because you had brought something to the show. But like spur of the moment, you know, let's do it live, come on. No, I don't think that you are obligated to bring the person onto your stream and like turn it into a debate. I guess that gets into like what is the priority of it. Like if it was I'm taking down each of your arguments, then sure, it would be good to give the person a chance to defend themselves, but that wasn't what the streams were. So
I think if that was the goal, that would, you know, and if that was the goal, right, was to attack arguments or that sort of thing, and you didn't allow them, then I would question your capabilities to actually do it, you know, in a bubble. Because you can, you know, that's the whole thing about YouTube, right? And a large reason why these sort of more public forums are not, or why YouTube isn't seen as a public forum, is because you're in a bubble and you've got your YouTube channel. You know, I talk about this in the MGS5 video, but it's like no content creator is ever going to write something or say something in a edited video in which they're going to deliberately make you think that they are wrong unless they're proving a point.
yes.
And so it's easy to convince people of things in a bubble. It's much harder to do it when the dissenting opinion is in the room with you. And so if the goal was a further understanding of this person's opinions, then having the person on is the easiest way to do that.
I don't know if that's true, because if somebody was watching, like, let's say my BioShock video, I don't really know what I could add to that, because they're going to ask, what were you thinking in that situation? I'm going to say, fuck if I know.
You gotta do some. So I did a decent amount of prep before I went onto that stream. Mm-hmm. Even then, I still felt like I was
you were listening to somebody
underprepared.
else. Yeah, I felt like we weren't watching Private Sessions video. We were watching the Private Sessions video of that era.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gets into the question of like, are we the same creator fundamentally? And Salt Factory had that thing when he came into the chat. He was like, yeah, my older work's not that good. And it's like, I don't know. Not sure how to feel about that, because I feel like that's a typical answer someone would give if they're trying to kind of downplay the criticism, is to say, yeah, my old work sucked. Well, I mean, that goes without saying. Yeah. We all improve, but
yeah, I know. It feels like a cop out, and that's one of the things I hated, kept like going into that stream basically saying that, like, all right, listen, I'm not really a big fan of this video, but it was like my fourth video I've ever made. That's why I always like to ask content creators pretty much once I meet them, like, I know I asked Tetra this, and I'm pretty sure I asked you this, like, is this the first channel you've ever done? Because there's a lot of information you can glean from that, is that, you know, the first 2 years of somebody's career on YouTube is usually going to be radically different from the remainder of their career.
Right. There's a period of self-discovery.
Yeah.
I feel like Salt Factory felt obligated to pop into the stream because you had 900 viewers, so he was probably had a decent chunk of his people going on his Discord and like, this guy's streaming you, right? Let's say your video is being streamed. Do you feel obligated to show up? I mean, like, I guess think of it in two situations. You are on your day off and you're on your computer and you get told that someone's watching your video, and then you're commuting home from work and someone tells you that your video's on stream. Sort of, what's your priority for making an appearance, even if it's just in the chat?
I wouldn't feel obligated. I would feel morbidly curious, more like,
right.
Like I would want to watch it because I'm curious what's going on. But, you know, I'm sure that's because not many people, as far as I'm aware, watch my videos on stream. If that was to change and it's like, oh, this is a common occurrence, this happens like 3 times a week.
Like with Acer Thorn? Because there's starting to be a genre on YouTube of like reacting to Acer Thorn takes.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how I wouldn't call it obligated unless I really knew, like say, I don't know, EFAP or something was covering it. I know their reputation and stuff like that. Maybe then I would feel a little bit more obligated to actually go in there and try and maybe just offer some, maybe just help try and make it a better show.
There you go. You're clout chasing.
Honesty.
They're bigger than you. So you stand to benefit.
But like kind of try and go in and like maybe give them a different perspective or something, or just more perspective. That's basically, I would never feel obligated to go in to defend myself.
I think this conversation is assuming good faith on every party.
Which is rarely true, I think.
Yeah, is there a possibility that, like, for instance, I say that I'm doing it for the Skyrim video, but what if it turns out I'm just trying to monetize other people's content and, like, you know, there's full ads on all of those videos, which there isn't. There's as few ads as I can put on them. But, you know, there's full ads on those videos and I'm, like, trying to make bank from other people's Skyrim videos. There's going to be a point where somebody does that as this sort of genre grows, where somebody's doing it in bad faith.
I have a high tolerance for people that I like to call rascals, and that's basically people who are going to abuse the systems. Like they're going to find ways and stuff. And I guess I see that as kind of inevitable. So as long as it's not screwing me over directly, it's not directly stealing an appreciable number of like viewers. Like, you know, somebody does a stream like that and suddenly my channel takes a tank.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, you know, people are just going to be people. That's pretty much corporate YouTube's problem to deal with. If they give me tools to deal with that, I'll try and moderate it myself. But
you do get tools really to deal with that. That's called DMCA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get into the whole issue of like, there used to be a rule that content creators didn't use the DMCA against each other.
Yeah.
It was unspoken. But
That's bringing a cruise missile to solve a problem. That usually ends up escalating things more than diffusing them.
It's definitely a complicated question, and I feel like we're closer to an understanding, but there's still some distance away. It's one of those things where I think I would question it if it was something that I was doing full time, but because it's like, you know, it's something that happens every 6 months on my channel, and it's directly tied to a project, you can assume that it's probably more in good faith. But that's what somebody who's doing it in bad faith would say, is they would have some excuse. So who knows? Anyways, this has been an interesting conversation. What do you guys think of this podcast?
I had fun. Did you have fun?
Oh, it's all right.
I had a great time.
That's good. So, yeah, why don't you guys kind of introduce yourselves again? And this time, give people a recommendation for a video that they would want to watch.
Yeah, so again, I'm Tetramore, and if you want to watch one of my videos, just watch my Metal Gear Solid 5 video. It's the first one I did in that style, and it's probably still the best in a lot of ways, so just watch that one. It's pretty good. I like to think so. I just watched it last night, or yesterday again, and I still like it, so.
Oh man, you guys can actually watch your own videos. I envy you.
Yeah, I can watch my own. It's not something I derive pleasure from.
I'll watch them to, you know, do a little research, but oh boy, all I see is the flaws.
So what's a video you would recommend to people?
I'm Private Sessions, and I would recommend watching my most recent video, which is Bully, and because I feel like that's really the first video where I'm taking analysis more seriously. Like before that, well, my Mass Effect 2 video was pretty analysis heavy too, so you can watch that one. But Bully is more indicative of the content that will be on my channel
going forward.
You know, this point on, yeah.
Yeah, I tell people to watch the Boneworks video on my channel. People judge me by the long form analysis videos, but I think this, like the smaller 30-minute videos, is fairer.
Yeah, please watch the smaller videos.
Yeah, don't watch the Oblivion video.
It's like I like to use my smaller videos to test ideas for the larger videos, and like the Skyrim video that I'm working on is I keep like my personal code word for it is the dress rehearsal for my Morrowind video. So
right,
but it's watch the smaller videos.
Yeah, and finally,
they don't get into much. Don't get enough love.
I'm Patrician TV. Chances are pretty good you're seeing this on my channel, so you know who I am. But I I like the Twitter thing I have where I say I'm a video novelist because I hate video essays, and I think it's really funny to say that I'm a video novelist. Yeah, I did the 8-hour and 12-hour Elder Scrolls videos. And I think if there's one video I would recommend, it's either Boneworks or Battlefront 2. I like that Boneworks video. Have I ever told you guys the story of how it got made?
No, I never heard of it.
Okay, so
I watched the video, but
when I made that video, I wrote the script, and it took a few days, and playing it obviously took a few days. But I published the script at midnight on Sunday, and at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, I had a finished product. It's an anomaly in my channel in that video was produced absurdly quickly. I had like
how much caffeine
That's wild.
did that take?
Yeah, I had 1 caffeine pill. It was like in RimWorld when the people get inspirations and they work like 5 times as fast. Yeah, it was kind of like that. Because I'm not kidding. Going from the script to the finished product means recording the voiceover, editing the voiceover, editing the video. I guess it helped that like Boneworks is not a terribly long game, but yeah, that video is like a marvel of production for me. And I think the Battlefront 2 one is fine. It's a good nostalgic trip.
Yeah.
So
I like that one. I haven't played the game, so.
Oh, you haven't played Battlefront 2?
Let's remember that I'm the youngest person, and I was a wee whippersnapper when that game came out.
Right. Well, it's a game for
I was
kids,
playing like
basically.
SpongeBob and stuff, and
Well,
I
so was
still
I.
am. So
Yeah, I had like there was some SpongeBob game that I want to say was inspired by. God, I don't know what its inspiration was. It's so weird. I might have to cover it sometime so I remember what the hell that game was about. But it was like a 3D platforming SpongeBob game.
Are there any?
it wasn't
games
Battle
that
for
you-
Bikini Bottom, was it?
Probably.
Oh, wasn't it? That's like the most. I always hear that one all the time.
No,
It's
I think it went around at
legitimately
Scholastic
good.
Fair, so.
Oh man!
Wow.
I got Roller Coaster Tycoon out of the Scholastic Fairs.
Hmm. I was a poor
That's
kid, so I got
probably,
very few games from it.
Yeah, same. I also didn't really have a gaming PC.
But I don't know. I think Battlefront 2 is one of those games that a lot of people should check out.
I only played Battlefront 1. Never got Battlefront 2.
That's fine. I'll accept that. So,
Played on PS2 though.
you guys want to like just chat for a bit, kind of give this a parasocial element to this conversation? Oh, we're just friends hanging
Sure.
out.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk
I'm
about?
still recording. Well, I was gonna ask you guys. Are there any like small games that you would want to ever cover? Like small, really obscure games that you would want to cover on your channel?
I was asking about that on Twitter.
Undertale.
Oh, there you go. I was asking about that on Twitter.
That's always my de facto like response to
Wait,
like
what was it? I missed
talk
it.
about like a small or Undertale.
Yeah.
Do you ever want to talk about like a small game or like a small RPG? I'm like,
I think,
you
like,
should try this indie gem called Undertale.
Yeah, we should support indie projects like Warframe. They were a pretty out there studio. I asked about this on Twitter. I was trying to get recommendations for Elder Scrolls style indie games, and the consensus I got was I'm too picky and what I want doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
So
Yet. Did you see though? Did you see what's their the people who are making OpenMW? They're turning it into an actual game engine that you can. It's an open source game engine. Yeah,
That's been true for
I
years.
think we're gonna be.
I was trying to do something with it. It's kind of difficult to work with, even as like a new engine. But I think it has a lot of potential because if you can pick it up and make a Morrowind style game, then
Exactly.
that's going to go a long way towards that. That's going to have that Doom effect where people are making their own WADs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I saw that and I was like, ooh, okay.
I suppose to genuinely answer your question, there's this game I've been wanting to talk about for a while called Becastled, which is basically Age of Empires 2, but single player and focused on the building.
This sounds familiar, actually. I'm gonna Google this real fast.
I was showing it off on the Discord. I was part of the way through a script working on it. The issue with it is that and this is not actually an issue. The issue with me making a video on it is that it updated, so a lot of what I had to say was out of date, and now like the script is horribly out of date. I'd have to rewrite it. But it's an interesting little project that I've been following, because Age of Empires 2 is a lot of things, but it's not really good for building. And so this game kind of addresses that. It's single player, and what happens is like there's a day-night cycle in it, and at night you get attacked. And so it creates the dreaded gameplay loop of you building up defenses and forces and then fighting them at night.
So it's a tower defense game.
It's real-time strategy.
Yeah.
But it's like tower defense in that element.
I just love reducing games to like tower defense or mobile or like cookie clicker.
Yeah.
Because it's so disingenuous.
It's just an idle game. Like all you do is increase numbers. Like.
Oh, speaking of that, you just mentioned that, and that made me think of the game that I like, the really obscure game that I want to cover. Have you heard of Universal Paperclips?
No.
Oh.
It's an idle game, but with some really interesting mechanics that kind of keep you engaged more than most idle games do. And this sort of eldritch kind of story where you're turning the entire universe into paperclips, essentially.
Fuck. I was gonna do that as a game. That was gonna be my first game. Not that. I was gonna do an idle game that turned into an RPG.
Oh yeah.
Well, it'd be more like a visual.
You should check it out, Universal.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah. It's I enjoy it a lot.
So it's a web game.
Yeah, and there's also an app on.
See, all the more reason to pick it up. It's free.
Exactly.
No better price. I disagree.
Idle games are a good place to start for indie devs. Like, stop trying to make complex games. Focus on like simple shit.
I watched a documentary that People Like Games made, and or people make games, right? Yeah, that's the thing. And they did it on Cookie Clicker, and it is one of the most fascinating documentaries I've seen about like just the dude made the game like as a joke, and now it's literally I just referenced a game using it. Like it's become its own genre at this point for the most part.
Yeah, like in 2015, I made Cookie Clicker with a friend in Minecraft. There's a computer mod in Minecraft that adds like Lua as a scripting language, and we made Cookie Clicker in Minecraft.
Computer craft, right?
Yeah. And like
I remember playing Cookie Clicker in like computer classes back in high school.
Yeah, there were people at school when we first got laptops that were playing Cookie Clicker in class.
It got banned on my internet, or on my school's internet, because it was so bad.
Yeah, we would go into, it was in my graphic design class. We would go in there, talk about how to pirate games and play like Cookie Clicker.
I think before we close out, there's one anecdote I want to share, and it's my Joseph Anderson anecdote. Do you guys know my crackpot Joseph Anderson idea? It's straight from the meth pipe.
About your Oblivion video?
Yeah, it's the Morrowind video. So Joseph Anderson for a long time has been working on his Witcher series, right? And he made Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 in like a year. Well, I mean, he was working on it for longer, but he released them months apart from each other, right? Everything was going well.
Right.
And he started to have some issues with The Witcher 3, and it ran up on the release date of Cyberpunk. So he said on Twitter, I'm not releasing The Witcher 3 video until I play Cyberpunk because I don't want to date it, which is weird to me because, you know, what in his script did he assume about Cyberpunk that dated his video? Like, I can't imagine it, right? And I doubt you guys could either. But as everybody knows, it's a year later, and there's still no Witcher 3 video. It's supposed to come out this month, a year late. And so I I want to clarify, this is straight from the meth pipe. My crackpot insane conspiracy theory is that Joseph Anderson wanted to have the longest video on YouTube, and right before he released his Witcher 3 video, I put out my Morrowind video. And something I thought about when I put it out was, I don't want to put out my Morrowind video and the next day Joseph Anderson comes out with a Witcher 3 video, because that basically guarantees nobody's going to watch mine. And so my crackpot theory is he saw the Morrowind video was 8 hours long and like got dejected and then had life happen. And so now he's a year late. But okay, so that's my crackpot theory. Here's my anecdote. Somebody recently sent me a picture from his Discord server where they told him about my Oblivion video, and he said that 12 hours on Oblivion seems excessive, and somebody responded, it's excessive, but at least it's out. And then Joseph Anderson disappeared for a month, and then he announced that he was like going to be releasing his Witcher 3 video.
That's rough.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I like Joseph Anderson. I actually rewatched all his Fallout videos, and I'm going to be using it because he says some stuff that's really relevant to Skyrim in those videos. So
I recently rewatched all of his videos in preparation for the Witcher 3 video.
Oh, yeah?
Including the ActRaiser video, which is talking about people covering games that are super obscure that no one knows about. It's his most underperforming video on the channel.
How weird.
Because no one knows anything about that game.
It's like when we covered Metal Gear Survive and nobody watched it.
Yeah, exactly. We should just stop doing that. Only cover the big stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I made the Harry Potter video because I was like, people are nostalgic for that. I think I'll make a video about it. So, yeah.
Isn't that like your 4th largest video or something?
Mm-hmm. I was right. Nostalgia is the key to success. And now I'm going to monetize your childhood. I like to present it as cynically as possible.
That's probably why, like, I mean, those are usually the videos that I'll watch over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, oh, there's a new Oblivion video? Gotta watch that.
Well, Elder Scrolls is weird with the long form stuff. It attracts it. A lot of people think that I was inspired by Will Love's video games, and they don't realize that the first time I saw that video was in making the Oblivion video.
Which is, it's hilarious because literally my Oblivion video is because I watched Will's video on it, and I was like, I could do one longer.
Is he back?
I texted my, I don't know. But I texted my friend though. I was like, dude, you got to watch this video.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a few days later after I finished watching, I was like, oh man, that was good, but he missed a few things. I was like, should I just make a video that's longer than that? He's like, yeah, do it.
He's still not back. Does anybody want to tell the story so I don't have another anecdote? If they know this
I feel like that's...
Does anybody know the Will story?
It's on you. It's on you because you're the one who chased him off the platform.
You're the one that destroyed him.
Yeah, exactly. I bullied him off the platform. So, Will Loves Video Games had a channel, I'm told. I never saw it. I've never seen evidence of it. But apparently, he made the Oblivion video and like he tried to turn it into a channel, like a lot of us do when we have a successful video. And the stuff he made afterwards wasn't as successful, and people kept giving him shit for like his cadence, which is something you can control. So he like deleted all his videos except for 2, which is Oblivion and then a video called Thoughts on the Ink Ribbon, and it's like this weird textual video where his voice isn't in it. So you can tell he took that criticism well. So he's deleted his channel once. I watched the Oblivion video, and right after, like within 2 weeks, he starts posting videos again on like Skyrim. I was like, wow, okay, maybe because there were parts of the stream where I was like, you know, his voice is bad, but it's not something you can't control. You know, everybody's voice can be made to sound good on the internet. You know, this guy shouldn't stop making videos just because of YouTube commenters. So he came back, and then we watched his Skyrim video. He didn't make a Skyrim video. He made like a short thing about like quickly summarizing his thoughts. And then like within a week, he disappeared again. So now it's back to there's only 2 videos on his channel. And I don't know what to think, and I really want him to come back. So I keep saying, please come back on like every platform I can.
Yeah, he like I said, I liked his Oblivion video. I just watched it at 1.5 speed, and I had no problems at all with his delivery in that video. But then,
I do. I had a
yeah,
headache after the stream.
But then, I watched his like newer stuff, and I was like, I didn't quite get what he was doing, but I always appreciate when people are doing something different, and like, especially when they stick with it.
He was experimenting, and I think it could have ended somewhere better. The main issue with the new videos was that it sounded like he was making a joke that had no punchline. I fucking love just weird shit on YouTube. So if there was somebody who made like an entire channel where it's just like you're sitting there waiting for the punchline that never happens, I would honestly be into that. So, but the issue is I think he's a genuine person. So people, I don't think he likes that read of him.
Maybe.
I just think it's a shame.
This is why, like, I honestly, if I can get to the point like where I'm large enough that I feel confident enough to approach basically any YouTuber on YouTube or Twitch streamers and be like, yo, come on my chat, like come sit down with me for like an hour and a half or so. I just want to like ask you some questions. Like that's what I want to end up doing. I feel like I would love to talk to
like
Will.
Like a series where you just interview content creators.
Yeah, just like,
well, that's
like
what this
why do you
can
make
be.
videos?
We already have one person who wants to come on. In theory. He might watch this episode and be like, you know what? No, I don't jive with the energy here. We're approaching 2 hours, and I guess that could be a norm. Like, we do an hour on the topic and an hour kind of hanging out. I'd love to hear feedback from what people want out of it, because like this is the formative time where we figure out the what we're doing.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, this is where your constructive criticism could actually be applied. But I think I'm just going to be told, you should do this on a second channel. I think that's going to be the constructive criticism. Which, I mean, that's
what is the what is the format for this going to be as far as like, are you going to
like the schedule?
Stream it or
I was going to post it
like
a normal podcast.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, if we were going to stream it, then we would have gone live.
I imagine that that's going to be the most of the like feedback you're going to get. If it's not just, oh, I really like it, keep doing it. It's going to be, you guys should live stream this and like take questions from stream and chat and stuff.
There's shows I've seen that do that. That take questions even in a pre-recorded format.
The problem, and I have this problem when I get on live streams like that I'm doing myself, is that I can talk for fucking hours without input, without prompts. I can just stream of conscious bullshit for hours upon hours. So I don't think that's really going to help at least any episodes that I'm on, because we might get like 2 questions out of
yeah, I think this keeps more focus if we don't have a chat going.
Maybe what we could do is set up like an email or something that people can email questions, and you know, if there's like a lull or like an episode where we don't really have a topic to talk about, we can just answer like mailbag questions. Or you just
type all caps question and leave a comment.
Yeah.
That's how you open your question, with all caps question, and then you ask it, and then it's easy for us to tell which is criticism and which is questions that people want to ask.
Or like a channel in the Discord or something like that where people can just post questions. There's ways to do it if you want to field the questions.
Here's the question I want to know. What's the video component of this podcast? Do we just do like a still image that we commission, or do we like put game footage on?
I've always appreciated game footage. As somebody who, like, when I'm watching live streams and stuff, I actually rarely listen to live streams because I need some sort of visual element if I'm not doing anything else. You know, if I'm like playing video games or something, it's whatever. I'll just put it on and listen. But if I'm like sitting there like eating, I need a visual element. And I found even if it's just like somebody playing some weird fucking game that I've never like played or something, that's more than enough for me to like watch for at least like 20 minutes or so while I'm eating.
Right.
So
yeah, I have a ton of footage that's gathering dust. I can throw something up on the screen.
I think that's good.
All right. Well, I'm glad we've reached consensus live on the podcast about what the podcast
that's
is.
what these are all
we still
about.
don't know what's the name. We'll leave that open. The chat can propose names, but I'm gonna poison the well and say that LARP is the name because 4-letter acronyms are the norm.
The meta.
Yeah. So LARP stands for Longform Analysis and Retrospectives podcast.
See, if I was to ever do my own like podcast, it would be the Public Sessions podcast, which is just PSP.
Right.
But nobody steal that. That's mine now.
Yeah, you can't put your ideas out there. There's gonna be some guy that steals it.
I do that shit all the time. I'll put out like genuinely good ideas that I've been holding for like years and years, just to like challenge fate. Because it's like I have a shit ton of ideas anyway. So if somebody can come along and like make something so that I don't have to do it myself, I consider that a win. But don't steal my name ideas. Those take a while for me to come up with. That's my only gripe. That's my only concern.
That's my only request is don't steal this specific idea that I've put out there.
Don't steal the name. You can steal the format if you want. I don't give a shit.
Well, that's the issue with podcast names is I think literally every name is taken.
Everybody's. That's actually the funny thing is that's one of my stretch. Sorry, that's one of my stretch goals with doing YouTube was that eventually this would happen. I would get to sit down and chat with 2 or 3 other creators.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for helping me strike something off my bucket list.
Well, there you go.
You've made it.
Yeah, you've made it. There you go. Here's your yacht.
Yeah.
What is your idea of making it? To me, it's mansion on the moon.
Wow.
Having a house that I don't have to pay for the mortgage because YouTube money paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically it.
Oh man, imagine trying to apply for a mortgage with this as your income.
I talked to my brother about that because he's about to become a CPA, and he said the best thing that I could do is start a company and then have that company give me a paycheck.
Right, so just put all the money into that company and then like, oh yeah, I make $1,500 a month consistent.
Yep. He's like, that's how you do it. And I was like, that is brilliant. Thank you for paying for all that education so that you could give me that idea.
My family has lots of conversations about money moving because they're all college educated, which means they're all in debt.
Yep. I know what that's like.
Classic.
What about you, Tetra? What's your idea of making it?
It doesn't have anything to do with YouTube. I don't know.
Well, neither does a mansion on the moon.
Yeah.
I'm trying to scam people into buying my NFTs.
You have NFTs?
Yeah, well, not yet, but be sure to check out my Twitter where you'll be getting the latest drop.
Those VTubers can definitely
that was
get something out of those models.
Unironically, the plan was Hawaiian shirts. That's the harem of the VTubers. Because people kind of complained about that a lot. Was you're catering to a horny audience with your VTuber models, and there's a bit of truth to it, but I think it's like massively overstated. I think people just didn't like it. The people who didn't like it because VTubers are like massively overrepresented in streaming right now.
Yeah, it's kind of the
Almar one's cute.
A lot of things start in appealing to like a pornographic audience because those are the people who are most likely to spend money. Honestly,
that's why I named the longest section of my Metal Gear Solid 5 video after boobies.
Well, boobies
it's on the grind.
Is an important part of understanding Metal Gear Solid 5.
Unfortunately.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is one of those videos that I know would, like with the Dishonored 2 video, would just spark some dumb discussion about like feminism in the comment section.
It happened.
Oh no,
I got somebody. Yeah, I got somebody who was like, "Why are Americans afraid of erotica in their content?" And I'm like, "That's not
That wasn't the point.
Anyway, the point that I'm making, yeah.
Well, yeah, somebody was like, why do you hate women? And it's like, I propose that Emily should be the protagonist of Dishonored 2 and the only protagonist. If I hated women, I would be praising Dishonored 2 for giving so many women to kill.
Yeah, it's kind of an ironic thing, isn't it? In the interest of representation, Borderlands 3 has more female bandits than it has male bandits.
I like Blade and Sorcery gives you an option of what your ratio is. So if you only want to fight men or only want to fight women or want an even match, you can do that. But that's weird.
That's hilarious.
That, like, yeah, that's a question you have to ask. Like, okay, so your idea of representation is that there should be more women enemies so that people that you actively think are sexists can kill more women in video games.
It's ridiculous, but that's like...
Like when Ubisoft made a game where they literally had, like, what was it, like urban thugs as an enemy, and it was just black people from New York.
Well, so I've been seeing this meme floating around about like Halo Infinite, like desexualizing a lot of the female characters, like character models and stuff. And it's like, I had this moment where I'm like, is like media going to create a like counter sort of body, you know, image issue where like women who have like, you know, larger breasts and stuff like that, they're going to feel insecure now because like they shouldn't. Is that where we're going at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. There were two ways they should have gone with it. Either, I don't have an issue with them getting rid of the female Spartan asses. That's not what I played Halo for. But at the same time, the other way you could go is you just, like, you give the male Spartans, like, really broad chests and giant muscular arms and giant cod pieces.
You mean like how they already were? I mean, you look at fucking Master Chief and his, like, arms and like, fuck, dude. His arms are, like, 10 times the size of my arm.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's obviously a super soldier, but it's like, you have to increase it, like, go harder. Okay, just be absurd.
A lot of people are getting into that, though. There are a lot of dudes who would be into that too.
Yeah, that's like the 40K aesthetic is the giant muscular space marines.
I saw the trailer for the new Warhammer game that's coming out at the Game Awards, and before I saw the name, I was like, "This looks stupid. What is this?"
Oh, damn! It's 40K. Who would have thought? Yeah, Warhammer's interesting because they stylize everything with a very unique aesthetic. I was thinking about
Here's a question.
I was using the power armor in Fallout 4 and it made me think of 40K.
Here's a question. What like video game universe completely ejects you every single time because of its like art style or whatever? For me, it's Final Fantasy.
I actually don't think there's been a video game that's outright rejected me because of its art style. I know, like, I don't know, maybe something that was made with that stupid like Tumblr style. Where it's like
Tumblr style.
Yeah, have you ever seen like how Tumblr draws characters where it's like they just look like potatoes?
I think I'd have to look it up.
But yeah, when you look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's pretty documented that it's a thing. I have an issue with let's intentionally make characters ugly so that we like represent ugly people. I kind of prefer games that like idealize the human form.
Like Oblivion.
Yes.
Yeah, I see what you mean with the Tumblr style. Ooh.
Yeah, like,
yeah, not a fan of.
I think I've been watching stuff about Yick, the Y2K, the postmodern RPG, and that game has that kind of art style, and I think that the way that game looked definitely like is not something I could play. Just based on art style.
Tetra, what about you? Any game ever ejected you because of the art style?
Well, apparently Warhammer.
You got filtered by the... Yeah, Warhammer is about like... Okay, so the reason Warhammer looks that way is because it's about miniatures. And with miniatures, you have to emphasize elements to make it easier to paint and recognize from like across the table, since it's a war game. So that's why the Space Marines are like that.
That makes sense.
Warhammer is one of those franchises that intimidates the hell out of me because it's like I have no like introduction to it whatsoever. So if I ever want to get into it, it's like, where the hell do I even start?
Well, and that's
I
sort of
agree
the thing
with
is there a point in starting now? Because it seems like they're on the downturn now.
Yeah, there's that too. What franchise isn't on the downturn right now?
Yeah, who is on the up and up?
Although apparently 343 is redeeming itself with Halo Infinite. I still kind of reserve judgment until I play the campaign for myself, but what I played from the multiplayer was interesting.
It just took
Definitely
them
wasn't
two
Halo
games
5.
to figure out that their own
2
creative
games in
vision wasn't
over a
good.
decade.
Yeah. Halo
Like-
4 was... Did you ever play the Spartan Ops on Halo 4?
Yeah, I played a little bit of them.
Oh my god, that is a horrible campaign. And it was worse because I was playing it like it was episodic and it came out like once a month or something. And so I was playing it as it was coming out.
That phase of the gaming industry where they're like, we're going to make every game into a television show. Oh, you mean you're going to make a television show? No. The game is going to be a television show.
Well, and sometimes they did do the television show thing, but
yeah,
I think that was like they were trying to answer the question of like creating quantity. And so it's like, what if we could release a game every year or like every couple months? And it was just like live updating it, I think was what they were going for basically, was let's increase the quantity.
They were doing a games as a service or live game service before it actually had a term.
Yes. I think of like people criticized it at the time, but I think that like the example of where it worked was Hitman 2016.
Yeah. I don't know. I see that format and I think either I'm going to wait till it's all done or it's never going to be done, so I'm never going to play it.
Or in the case of Destiny 2, when they keep calling old stuff.
Oh my god.
As they add new stuff.
Oh yeah, the Warframe effect of like, why should I bother? I've missed out on stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you play the Destiny 2 campaign yet? Did they bring that back or is it still gone?
No, it's still gone. It's probably gone forever.
What do you mean it's gone?
Oh my god.
Like the original like campaign that the game shipped with is no longer there.
I mean, not missing out on much.
I mean, sure, but like
they called it.
You're speaking a foreign language to me. Why was it so bad that it's like we can't humanely expect people to play this?
It definitely was not bad enough to warrant it being deleted forever. Definitely not that bad. It's just mediocre.
So weird. Because that's something I've been running up into with covering modern games. It's like when I talk about Fallout 76, I have to think about the fact that I'm not talking about the same Fallout 76 that Joseph Anderson covered.
Yep.
And so that really muddies the water, like especially with Skyrim. Like I mean,
God damn it, developers! Just release games and just release them and be done, so I can make my shitty hit pieces.
Yeah, exactly. You fucking selfish dicks.
Really, what it is like they're just trying to figure out how to. Dude, the fucking industry is completely screwed up when it comes to like budgets and actually monetizing games. Because like, think of it this way: it's like, why are games getting more expensive? Like, yeah, there was a push to make games $70 instead of $60. Whoa, but it's like, where's the games that are going to cost like $100? Like that's probably where they should be at this point in terms of like budget and inflation and everything.
I'm conflicted because as a consumer, I don't want the prices to go up, obviously.
Of course not.
As somebody who's in the industry, I understand the argument that game prices should go up because they've been at $60 for like 2 decades at least.
Yeah.
As long as I've been alive, that's been the standard price. But $60 does not go as far as it used to. So
I've seen the...
Do you think that they're moving toward like, instead of increase, I mean, maybe they want to increase the price, but maybe they're moving instead to the industry is moving toward no longer spending money on physical copies of games.
Well, that's the thing is they got rid of the physical copies of games, which was a decent chunk of where the money per purchase would go, and they got rid of like they're gradually eroding like the cuts that go to the distributors. So it's like they are getting more money from their $60 than they used to.
It's just the cost of development is just astronomical. Like,
yeah, let's look at what are some expensive video games. I mean, everybody loves Star Citizens, but
RDR2.
yeah, I think that takes the cake.
I need to see the price tag on RDR2.
What I was gonna say is, I've seen people make the argument where it's like, yeah, games, like, you know, the cost of game production is going up, but there's also so many more people like playing games now, and it's like, yeah, but now you have a whole indie, like a whole indie industry that, you know, big developers have to compete with and everything. Just more it's just more competition now too, and yeah, there might be more people getting into gaming, but that doesn't mean they're going to be buying your games.
Yeah, it pushes developers toward creating experiences that aim for mass markets.
Red Dead Redemption 2 has an estimated development cost of $170 million.
I've actually heard. I've heard more than that.
I can
heard
see it
in the
costing
300s.
I can see it costing that for that game.
That feels like
definitely.
it's low. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this doesn't tell me like the basis or the rigor that they used. It just tells me the firm that did it. But I mean,
yeah,
it's a privately held investment firm. I assume that they're basing it on something. You know, they're not just, oh yeah, it's like 170 million. Seems about right. But like, so Cyberpunk 2077 was a $174 million game. And they spent, oh, okay, this is the thing. It's the marketing costs. That's creating the difference. So $174 million to make the game, $142 million to market the game.
Wow.
So that's why.
Well,
it's
when you dump so much money into development, then you got to dump a bunch of money into marketing to make sure you get that money back.
Yeah. Okay. So that's definitely a weird thing. It doesn't. That game does not feel like a $174 million game. It's big and there's a lot to it. I mean, like, they showed off in the marketing that like the sound guys went to like an airstrip and were like recording all the car sounds from real cars. That could cost a decent amount of money. You know, you're renting an airstrip for a day. But I mean,
yeah, you're still talking. That's probably like
over the course of the entire
grand.
project. Yeah.
Well, they probably only do that for like a day. Really, you're probably talking like about 20 to 30 grand at most in the span when compared to $170 million. It's like,
okay, so the next one is Battlefield 4 for $100 million development.
Battlefield 4.
That does not make
really?
sense to me. That's got to be like licensing costs for all the guns or something. Like, that is not a $100 million game. I'm sorry.
Well, how long was the development for that game? And how long was the like post-release? Because I remember that game having a lot of post-release content. So that might be counting that too.
There was DLC for it, but I don't know. I'm considering like my experience with the game. It just doesn't seem like something that should cost that much. And then so that kind of indicates that like somebody was getting paid a lot of money. A lot more than they were worth. So it's like Watch Dogs was a $68 million game. That makes sense to me. I can believe that. The first one, yeah. Dead Space 2 was $60 million. I'd have to ask Boulder Punch if that makes sense.
See, what I wonder is how people even... The only people I can really believe when they give those numbers is the developer themselves, and only if they were very strict about how they were counting the hours and stuff. So say like you have a guy, like a program or whatever, and you know he's working at Ubisoft or whatever, and that studio themselves, they're working on 3 separate games right now. And in the morning he was working on you know, the next fucking Assassin's Creed, and then he's working on like the next Tom Clancy or something like that. It's like, did his whole day get counted for one game? Did it get split? Do they have the systems to like get that granular with their accounting?
Well, I'm basing it off of the official. So I've read you all like official self-admitted numbers.
Okay.
Besides the Red Dead Redemption one, that's estimated.
Yeah.
But the rest, most of them are self-admitted development costs.
All right, so I'd be. That's definitely as good as it's gonna get.
So, anyways, I think we should wrap up here. So,
Yeah,
you've been watching the Insert podcast name here with Insert co-hosts here. Yeah, be sure to comment any criticisms that you have, and fuck off.
Sorry, we told you all that we don't care if anybody critiques us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
be merciless.
Yeah, if you're a 40 sub channel, get that live stream going. Just cherry pick everything that we say.
Start chasing that clout.
Yeah, exactly. If you criticize us, we're going to use the clout chasing or punching down argument against you. So don't bother. We won.
And we might DMCA you.
If you have 10,000 subs, then you can be clout chasing and punching down at the same time.
Well, see, that's the beauty of it is we have such a range that we can. It's punching. If a 50,000 sub person did it, they're punching down and clout chasing at the same time.
Double duty. I like it.
So we're pretty bulletproof.
So when is the next one?